Sounds good. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of MACAE Member Profile Series. This is our video series chronicling members of the Michigan Adult Community and Alternative Education Association. Just a quick note that you can find the link to this video today, as well as all of our others on our website at www.macae.org and on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MACAE, M-A-C-A-E, today. So without further ado, I am going to introduce our guest for today, Brian Puffer, who is the Director of Community Education at Saline Area Schools. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Brian, you were a willing participant in this video series. So I want to thank you for that. And like I said in the introduction, it really is a time for us to get to know our members and to share about the great work that they do. A lot of us have been doing this work, and sometimes we forget the stories that brought people into this work and the work that they are doing and the innovations that they've introduced in their programs over time. So why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about how you got started in this line of work, what brought you in, how long have you been doing it? Tell us a little bit about your story, finding your way into community education.
Sure. Well, I go back to 1999 when I graduated from Ferris State with a recreation and leadership degree. Out of college, I worked for the Saline Parks and Rec Department for 5 years. I was a rec and enrichment programmer. Then in 2004, Scott Graydon, who was a community ed director at the time and also a former superintendent, asked me to come over to community education. So made that move in 2004. And for 5 years, I was the recreation and enrichment programmer for community ed. And then in 2008, overnight, our superintendent was let go by the board, and our community ed director, which was Scott Graydon, became superintendent. And he asked me if I wanted to be a community ed director. And I was, I think, about 28, 29 years old, and I was scared as could be, but I said yes because I didn't know when it's ever going to come back again for that option. So that happened in 2008, and here we are in 2023, and I'm still the community ed director. So that's how I got into this role.
That's a great trajectory of things, and you've seen lots of facets of programming, it sounds like, from actually, providing some of the services to actually coordinating them, running the budget. I know we'll kind of talk about your program now in a second here and all the facets of it. I mean, short of running everything, you run everything. But It's just nice to hear that history.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, I got to do parts of the job before I was director, but now being in the district going on, this is my 19th year in the district. I've been able to see things that we started back in 2004 that are still going. But it's been very exciting. I've been very lucky to be part of the Saline School District going on 19 years. It's a fantastic district, and I've had the opportunity to grow in it, and it's been a great ride so far.
And we would be remiss if we didn't give that little shout out to Scott. He was a former member of MACAE, longtime member. And so also, I think in these stories, it's important. It's interesting to see kind of the legacy, that a lot of our programs have built with their association with community education, but also with MACAE, and kind of the legacy of having members over the years and kind of building that professionalism over time. So shout out to Scott for wherever he is in the world doing what he's doing, that he brought you on and had that foresight to keep building that legacy there. So tell us a little bit about Saline Community Ed. I know a little bit about it only because I am really dialed in on some of your events and activities, which we might get to. But tell us a little bit about kind of the scope of it. How big is it? Tell us maybe a little bit too about Saline Schools and the impact that you have within the district and some of the programming that you do.
Sure. Well, Saline School District, we have about 5,200 students. We're a pretty good sized school. The good thing about community education, our community department is more set up as like a Parks and Rec department. We are very unique in the fact that we do not offer adult education or alt ed. Alternative ed, though, is honestly on the other side of my office door here. So it's through the school district, not through community ed. So we work with them quite a bit, though, which is nice. But we are a very large department. We are broken down into different areas. We have our rec and enrichment programmer. We have the pool in our theater at the high school is run strictly through community education. So I have a full-time person in both of those spots. Then I also have a preschool director that we run here as well. And then we have obviously our before and after care program, formerly Latchkey, that we run at 4 elementary schools. And so we have our hands in a little bit of everything. We're spread out across the district. And so it's very nice. You know, we serve preschool through, I would say, through a senior citizen. We do have a senior center. It's on our campus. It's technically underneath the community ed umbrella, but they do have their own board, which I sit on and whatnot. So we do offer pretty much everything, from, you know, they say cradle to the grave. I don't want to say that, but you know, we do offer something for everybody, and we're proud of that.
Certainly. And so what an asset to the community. And I think, could you talk a little bit about, kind of that vision or philosophy that you have, around community education and what it can bring, and maybe even hit upon, the last few years, especially with the pandemic. I just think that your program, especially in particular, has provided so many opportunities to support the rest of your district and the K-12, student achievement, and filling in some of the gaps in certain places. And could you just kind of talk a little bit about that philosophy that you've developed at Saline, and how really kind of the community education, while it's a department, really kind of, in my view, from stepping in from the outside, really kind of connects with many facets of the rest of the district. It's not isolated.
Sure. And kind of just backtrack a little bit. The reason, like you mentioned, Scott Graydon, our former community ed director and superintendent, and before him was Nancy Breton. Community ed has always been looked at kind of the spot where, if we're going to start a brand new program, we're going to start it at community ed. We're going to go there. We've been happy. We have multiple sports programs that started under our umbrella and are now varsity sports, or they're club sports through the high school and whatnot. And so we're lucky that we have that kind of, that kind of support in the district. And these last couple of years, like you mentioned, we try to fill in the gaps anywhere we can, not just, athletics, but academically. And since COVID hit, and I know we've talked about this multiple times, I really felt like that our districts always supported us, but maybe not necessarily know what we do, on a day-to-day basis. And once COVID hit, I think it really put us to the forefront and showed them what we can do. We offered a new program called Hornet Homeroom, which when we were all virtual, we had students come into the building, and that because they didn't have access to computers and internet. And so we would have multiple staff working in with 15 kids, and you might have a bus driver, you might have a custodian, you'll have community ed staff all working with these kids to make sure they can access their online learning. Because if they weren't here in the district, they probably wouldn't be able to get online. And so we've done stuff like that. We offer summer classes for the high school students in the summer, so they can take the PE class, their health class, if they want to do that in the summertime. So it kind of lightens up their schedule for the school year. And so we try to do whatever we can to support the district, and more importantly, support the student. And that's one thing, I'll be honest with you, I've been in this field going on 24 years. And when I came to community ed, it was kind of always about meeting that bottom line, making that dollar, because we pay to the general fund. We are not supported by the general fund. And so really when kind of COVID hit, and before that, you kind of start looking at things a little differently. It's like, wow, the effect that we have on these children or these students, and how we can help them. You see that in the programs you run, but you really got to see that during COVID. And it was really nice to hear from the parents and just the support. And so, we're kind of like, we'll fill in and do what we can to help support the district, but it's also, since that's happened, we have more and more talks now. We're adding more and more programming. So what can we do to support the students and whatnot? And so we're trying something new this year. I know we talked about the conference a little bit, is that we're looking at, for our incoming freshmen this year, we're working with administration we want to identify each freshman, what they're involved in. And if they're not involved in something, it's going to be our job to reach out to them, see what they like, see what they want to do. We need the kids to be involved in something, not just come to school and go home and do nothing. And so I know it's a long-winded answer, but that's kind of what we do.
No, your program is so comprehensive. And so I want to do justice to all the many facets that you have there. And also, Brian, I want to be really clear about, that you're a leader in this space. You are stepped in and our community education committee chairperson here at the association, and have just grown that leaps and bounds by, really kind of setting a strategic vision for what that means and really pulling different districts in and different programs in to talk about best practices, especially during the pandemic when we saw just normal operations, whatever that is, just totally flipped on its end. And sharing creative ideas and innovative things that you were implementing or trying at Saline, things that you tried that you were like, well, it was a one-time thing, but we did it and we learned something from it. And then even things that you implemented that now are continuing forward, as positive successes. So I want to note that as well, because you have been a leader in that space and helping, us to really also capture that vision for others for the future and other spaces in the state. So thank you for taking the time to do that in your spare time on top of everything you just described that you're doing within Saline.
No problem. And then just really quick, the committees are phenomenal. And I tell you, when COVID hit, and just to be able to meet and speak to other districts and kind of just a sounding board, what are you doing? What can we do? And, throwing out different ideas. Because if you had told me we had a daddy-daughter dance on a football field, we would have never done that if it wasn't for COVID and stuff like that. So those committees are it's just phenomenal. I'm just glad to be a part of it.
What's one of your favorite events or activities that you put on? I know that I attend the Saline Craft Show, which I think is probably one of the largest craft shows in the state. You're well organized, well put. You have so many vendors, so many different types of things. I know you have one upcoming if you want to pitch that as well. But what's kind of, when you look at your programming, what are one of the things that you're most proud of being a part of or helping to build?
Sure. Well, the craft show, like you mentioned, which our next craft show is March 18th here at Saline Middle School. We have 2 of those a year, and those are phenomenal to be part of because it's a fundraiser for all of our not all of our student groups, but the majority of them. Like it's the majority, that's their main fundraiser for the year for sports teams and for not just sports teams, but like your music clubs and stuff like that. So obviously that's one of them. Another one that is our I would say our all of our recreational programming we have. It's just nice to see that we have 500 kids playing youth rec basketball this fall or this winter, along with our travel kids. And so it's hard to pick one because I would pick like one I really like, and I'll say as an example is our cultural arts program. We do this thing called junior theater. My cultural arts director runs this program, and it's from kindergarten through 8th grade. So if a kid really wanted to, they could be part of, in drama and stuff from kindergarten through their senior year in high school. And we've had kids like that. We have one kid actually who is now he is in the play Frozen. It's going, he's actually one of the main characters in the Frozen Broadway play, I believe, and it's phenomenal. But the things like that is what I'm most proud of, is just seeing in each department what our staff do. Our staff is amazing. We had, parents, when COVID first hit, thankfully our superintendent at the time, Scott Graydon, was like, it's June 10th or it was June 15th, I can't remember, of 2020. He goes, we're allowed back in the buildings. He goes, you guys are going to be the guinea pigs. We're going to put you in there. And so, I was really proud of my staff there because we were back in the buildings. We were running summer camp. We were 10 to a room. We were doing junior theater outside with masks on and stuff like that. And so it's just all those things like that. I was just proud of my staff. I've been very lucky. I have 7 full-time staff. And my staff have been here on average, I think we did the math, almost 13 years. And so it's phenomenal to have a good staff like that. And so it's hard to pick one, but it's just seeing the students and kind of just seeing their smiling faces and just the support we can give them before and after school and definitely during the summer.
It's such a fixture within the community. And I think that's so important, to have that entity that's really embedded, and is really a place that the community can come to trust, that the program you do is quality, that it's going to be responsive to what the kids want really, and what the families need, and what the district's direction is too. So I just commend you for that leadership and that vision that you have in supporting that program and leading it. So as you look forward, what's kind of on the horizon? I'll ask you this big kind of 30,000 and then more local at home in Saline. So 30,000, where do you see community education? I think that the philosophy has evolved over time, and I think in many ways that's healthy. And in other ways, I think that we've got to continue to support that at the local level with local school districts, especially. But then what also is on the horizon for Saline Community Ed, as you look forward to new trends and what families and kids want, new technologies, things of that nature. What do you see ahead?
Yeah, like you said, trends are the main thing. And it's the questions like, what do you see, coming up and whatnot? And it's after what we've gone through, it's like we've been kind of just survive day to day to day. And now we're finally like, okay, obviously COVID's never going to be over, but we're kind of feeling comfortable that we're not going to have a complete shutdown again and whatnot. And so now it's more of looking at student and as the adults, as the whole person, and what can we offer for them, not just enrichment wise, but like self-care, stuff like that, looking at these different areas that we never really looked at before. We're offering classes on self-care and taking care of yourself. It's those kind of opportunities we're trying to figure out, offer more of that about taking care of yourself. But also what we have also do is we have been more involved now, and I think you have to be, with our administration, kind of like, what do you want to see? We have my job as community ed director, I am considered an administrator. I'm in the administrator meetings, and so I'm with that group. Then we have a core group too. I do not sit on that one, but we do have a direct voice there. And so this last 6 months, we've actually had, I have conversations with a person above me. They speak to the superintendent and whatnot, and how can we support? So community ed is at that table, and you got to be at that table, and you have to be in there. And what can you do to support this program, support this student? Do we offer a class after school that can still be for credit, and students will have to pay for it because it can't fit in the regular school curriculum? You got to be in there. That's the thing I see for community ed. We've talked about this. You got to sell yourself. You got to be in there. You need that support from your school board, your superintendent. And so what I see as community ed is being more and more as part of the district, not like, oh, that's community ed. That's the place that messes with my classroom. That's the place why the gym lights were on last night. That's the goal of being integrated and part of the school district. And I think we've made leaps and bounds. We've made great strides in that area. And so what I see as community ed is just staying up on that as well. But the trends, like you said, is with technology, everything's moving so fast and whatnot. You can't be afraid to do something, or you can't be afraid to, we can't do that. We don't have enough people. We had our communications director gave this whole spreadsheet about social media, and we do a good job on it. But it was like the next trend that's coming out there, social media that everybody's jumping onto, is TikTok. And you hear TikTok and you're kind of scared of it, and stuff like that. I think it's the stuff you can't be afraid to fail at something. I think that's the main thing moving forward. I think we're too scared to fail in certain things, that we're going to fail, and it's just not going to work, and people are going to look at it and we're not going to trust you. Just got to put yourself out there. And so I don't know if I answered your question. I know I'm kind of going all over the place because it's a good question, but I think it's just kind of, promote your program, do what you can to benefit the student. As soon as your board sees that, your administration sees that, like I said, during COVID, we did a good job doing that. And, it's kind of catapulted us into this different level as well. And so in the end, I think that's where we're at.
Absolutely. And you have done that, and I look forward to your TikTok video that hopefully you'll star in real soon. That's something that, as an association, people have asked if we're going to do that as well, and I've been hesitant, only from the standpoint of trying to understand what is relevant content, right? And so I'm with it, but I need to do some investigating. So if you learn tips and tricks along the way, let me know.
Yeah, we're looking into it. And the good thing about the social media report we looked at, it was like Facebook was still number one, because I think it's just a demographic that you deal with. And so we obviously use that, but it was TikTok by a wide margin, which was the next one. It was what districts are going to try next. And so, but it's a tricky slope, because you hear about, TikTok and kind of the issues that's behind that. And so, but it's just kind of staying on those trends and not being afraid to get out there and do things.
And this would be a good space for us to share too, that Saline Community Education is very active on social media. Do you want to share what pages you're on?
Yeah, sure. We are very active on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So if you search just Saline Community Ed on any of those platforms, they will reach out. You'll see us right there. If you go to our website, salinecommunityed.org, we have them all listed there as well. So we do update at least once or twice a day during the week on Twitter and Facebook. Instagram, not so much, but Facebook and Twitter we do, but we do update the Instagram as well. We do as much as we can on there to promote what we have going on. And we also use this feedback, what we could offer for, other programming for the district and the community.
Absolutely. And two quick things that I'll also mention that you brought in the last couple of years to MACAE and the state especially was one is, and this is not an ad, but they'll appreciate this, but Elio, a registration software company, you were really a leader in connecting with them and really drilling down into what specific needs community education departments might need. And so there a lot of our member programs moved along with Saline to work with them and have that be a tool that's provided with those community education departments for registration and for planning and programming, and they do some professional development opportunities as well. And then most recently, we had our fall conference, and you were integral, and we received a grant from the Community Education Foundation of Minnesota, and helping to bring some really dynamic speakers into the state to talk about how do we build, really diverse programming models in our communities that are, like as you've been describing, responsive to the needs of the community and of the times, and make that sustainable for the future. So I just wanted to get that in there too. You do a lot, Brian, and this 15 minutes is not enough to really encompass everything, but wanted to make sure that we shared that out as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, LEO is phenomenal. They've been great to work with. Like I said, I'd encourage anybody if you're looking for a different software company, facilities, registration, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to kind of give you what our experience is. And obviously the group from Minnesota was phenomenal. It was great having them, and I've been in contact with them. And so we've learned a lot from them, and it was a great conference.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you, Brian, for this and sharing not only your story, but the story of Saline Community Education. You really have poured your blood, sweat, and tears into that program over the years. And it's been wonderful to watch it grow and from a distance, but also know you and know how hard you've worked within you and your team, I should say, have put into growing that program and making it such a pillar within the community. So thank you for your leadership in that way and for what you do.
Well, yeah, thank you. And thank you. And thank you what you do. And for MACAE, the support's been phenomenal for MACAE. It always has been. Since I became a member, I think it was in 2008. It's just been a great place to, get the information from, learn. Like I said, the monthly check-ins, I encourage people to do those. And, obviously the committee meetings and the conferences, but it's a great place to go to for resources and just support. And just learn from your other peers. So we thank you for always supporting community education in Saline.
Thank you, Brian. Well, that concludes our interview for today with Brian Puffer of Saline Community Education, the director there. Thank you again, Brian, for that. We'll be back soon with another episode of our MACAE Member Profile series. But you can continue to watch this episode. It's available on our website, macae.org, and on our social media pages, MACAE Today. We will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.